Hi everyone, welcome. And for those of you who are just joining us, hope we're all well. Okay, we're very excited to chat with you today. Cool. All right, we might kick off. Numbers are still just climbing there. Welcome everyone. So I'm Talia and I'm very pleased to be your facilitator today for today's very special webinar, which we're very proud to host with Eczema Association of Australasia. And it's called Your Skin, Your Story. So we're navigating eczema and mental health together. Might just check, can everyone hear me, see me and everything? Hello, hello, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you're from. It might be afternoon, yep, thumbs up, afternoon in New Zealand, I think. Can tell I'm a Kiwi, thinking about the homeland. So yeah, we're delighted to have all of our attendees joining us today from across Australia and New Zealand. We've had a really strong interest in the webinar today with nearly 350 people from across Australia and New Zealand registered to join. So it's really cool to see people getting together to support each other in this way. So thanks for taking your time out of your day to be here. Today's session will provide practical insights into eczema, skincare, and the link between eczema and its very real impact on our mental health. So go ahead, get comfortable, make a cup of tea. I've got a little coffee here, settle in. This time is just for you. So while we go through the session as well, you're welcome to use the chat to say hello like you are. That's really awesome. I'll be monitoring that as we go. You can share a little of your story, what's brought you here, and also type any questions that you may have as we go through the session. You can use the reactions as well to share how you're feeling during the session. It's also helpful for panelists and speakers to get some feedback as they're going. So go ahead and use that. Love the love hearts already. We'll hold a live Q&A at the end of the session where we'll answer as many questions as we can. If there are any questions that we can't answer today as well, we'll collate these and find the appropriate information, gather the info required, and share the responses with you all via email post the webinar too, with a link to the live recording in case you miss anything. Want to see it again. Also, just a reminder to stay through to the end, as far to the end as you can, for your chance to win. One of our panelists, our key speaker today and panelist, Natasha Halliday, has generously provided 3 lots of $100 Visa gift cards and a gift pack of Bioderma products too for 3 lucky attendees today. And that'll be drawn in the following week after this webinar, and you'll be contacted by email to confirm your address for shipping. So stay as long as you can to the end and we'll draw those 3 lucky winners and get in touch. I'll just share my screen quickly and introduce you to who we are speaking with today. Here we go. Cool. Yes. So welcome. So yes, today we are joined by 3 super lovely professionals, women in the industry, who bring a wealth of experience and insight into eczema care, skincare, and mental health being the link with that, our key topic today. So we're joined by Angelica Thew, CEO of Eczema Association Australasia, Vanessa Jenkins, Executive Manager of Eczema Association based in New Zealand. Angelica's in Brisbane with myself. I'm a Kiwi though, you probably hear that, so shout out to all the Kiwis here. And also, yeah, very excited to introduce you to Natasha Halliday. She's a pharmacist and medical liaison as well with Bioderma and now, so we'll be speaking to her a lot more shortly. So over the next hour, just to let you know what we'll be doing, Angelica will be taking us through an introduction, overview of the Eczema Association, their support, the membership options, welcome to country, things like that. You can hear from Vanessa as well. So she's based in New Zealand. She'll be doing a short introduction on support and education initiatives across New Zealand. And Natasha Halliday will be our feature presentation on eczema, skincare, and the link with mental health. Then we'll do a bit of a wrap up at the end and have some live Q&A as well, which we're super excited about. That's a really cool time to ask your personal questions and hear from others as well in the community of things that they might be dealing with. So we're thrilled to have you here. Relax, have a cup of tea, enjoy the session, and remember to stay to the end as far as you can to be eligible for the prize draw. So Angelica, I'll hand over to you. So Angelica leads the association's advocacy, education, and support efforts across both Australia and New Zealand. Oh, over to you. Just unmute, Ange, just unmute yourself.
Oh, technology and me.
No.
Can you all hear me? I'm going to now share my screen. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes, got you.
Okay, amazing. Thank you. So thank you for that introduction, Talia. So I'm Angelica and I'm the CEO for both Australia and New Zealand. And I'd love to know in the chat, where are you all dialing in from? I know we've got people dialing in from all over, so excited to see where you're all dialing in from. Fantastic. I'd like to begin. Woo, there's my technology. Okay, I just want to start by acknowledging the Quandamooka people, the traditional custodians of the land that I'm joining you from today, and pay my respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. So for those of you that have not heard of the EAA or the EANZ, we are a support and education service for the communities with eczema, and our mission is to improve the quality of life for people with eczema through education, advocacy, and support for the community. First and foremost, we are here to help. I'm excited to welcome you all to today's webinar, and I'm really excited to be sharing the space with Natasha, it's always a pleasure to have Natasha speaking to the audience, and with Vanessa, our representative in New Zealand. So if I could start by saying that living with eczema can be extremely stressful, it's exhausting, and it has a massive impact on our lives, and it can affect so many different areas, from our sleep, our confidence, our families. It can have that financial impact, and it can also have just an impact on our daily life in general. So I'm excited to say that Natasha's going to be covering some really great information for us in her presentation today, talking about the skin and its functions, and also the challenges of living with eczema. And I'd like to thank Global Skin for their ongoing support to EAA and EANZ. And in conjunction with World Atopic Eczema Day, which is coming up on the 14th. And this year's theme is Our Skin, Our Journey, which is also what we've based today's webinar on, being Your Skin, Your Story. This shines a light on the lived experiences of patients navigating this disease that continuously evolves, and it highlights the daily struggles in the ongoing fight for better care. We are doing a social media campaign between Australia and New Zealand for the next couple of months. And for the next couple of weeks, we are really focusing on the World Atopic Eczema Day materials that we are working in conjunction with Global Skin on. And if you see some of these on the screen, this is the kind of socials that we'll be sharing. And each one of them are not only relevant, but they're also conversation starters. So we really want to hear from you. We want to hear about your story and how eczema is impacting you, because it's your skin and it's your story, and there is no two the same. Yeah, so the burden of eczema definitely extends beyond just the skin. It's not just an itch. Anyone that has eczema understands. And it definitely has that impact on our mental health, our emotional well-being, and sometimes also our social connections. So something that's really important is that we want you to all feel seen, heard, and supported. And at any time, we are here to help. So our main job here is to support, sorry for looking at two screens, guys, sorry about that, cameras here, screens here, but supporting people with eczema, and not just the individuals with eczema, but also their families, their carers. Anyone is able to reach out to us for that support. And it's free, it's confidential, and it can be by phone, it can also be by email for those of you that would rather just send us an email. And we are guided by our professional advisory panel. Those individuals are listed on our website, so you can go and take a look at who we are guided by. And we have some pretty incredible people helping us there. So we have membership for our EAA and EANZ, and that comes with 1, 2, and 5 year membership options. And our memberships come with an absolute bundle of information and resources. We put on webinars like this several times a year, generally for Eczema Awareness Month and always for World Atopic Eczema Day. And we also have free newsletters and a beautiful magazine that I'll tell you a little bit more about later. But mindful of time, so I'd like to stop sharing my screen now and give you back to Talia so that we can, get moving to share Natasha's speech. Let's just turn that off. I'm going to pop myself back on mute and hand you back to Talia. So thank you, everyone, and great to see where you're all dialing in from. It's amazing. Thank you.
It's really awesome. Someone from France, welcome.
Wow.
A few people from France, yeah, cool. Yes, Vanessa, we'll hear from Vanessa next. So Vanessa Jenkins, she's the Executive Manager of Eczema Association in New Zealand. And so she leads the education and outreach initiatives for families, carers and communities right throughout New Zealand. Yeah, I'll hand over to you.
Hello, can you guys see my screen at all? Yep, you can. That's cool. I'm looking at a different screen, so as long as you guys can see my slides, that's fine.
I can't just yet. Can you see them, Ash? I can't see. I can just see Angie.
I've got somebody's desktop.
Yeah, I can see.
Sounds like others can see you. Okay.
Okay, perfect. All right, thank you very much. Welcome everybody, and I am just so rapt to be here and to have everybody jump on. Phenomenal numbers, amazing that you guys are from literally all around the world, so I'm very excited. So thank you very much for taking the time to spend some time with us. So I'm Vanessa Jenkins, and I am the EANZ representative here in New Zealand. I've been working in this job for almost 4 years now, and I am always learning new things. I am always coming across new patients with new stories and experiences and things. It's really nice to be able to connect with people who walk the walk. My husband has got atopic eczema and has had for over 30 years. So I know firsthand about the burden of eczema and what that means for mental health, all the aspects, the ripple effect of having eczema, whether it's mild to severe, whatever it is in between, is absolutely phenomenal. So yeah, we're definitely here to help. So I'll tell you a little bit about the EANZ. So we have, if my slides are going to work, marvelous. So the Eczema Association of New Zealand's actually been around for a few years. It was established in 2015. Since being on the ground here in New Zealand, since almost 4 years ago, we've managed to get a lot more into the community and share our space with a lot of people. It's been incredible, actually. We've had so many things happen over the last few years, and we've been able to connect so much with the community, and that's a thing that's very strong and passionate for me. So I'd like to also say a thank you to our corporate partners. We wouldn't be able to do any of the work that we do without them. So we've got our gold corporate partners. We rely, as a not-for-profit organisation, we rely on our corporate partners and donations and our memberships and things like that. So yeah, these guys make a massive difference to the work that we can do in the community for you. So these are our silver partners. And then we've got our bronze partners as well. So a massive thank you to all of them. So what we do, we specialise in advocacy and empowering individuals with eczema, regardless of where you're at in your journey and regardless of the severity of your eczema. Living with eczema is an all-encompassing thing. It affects absolutely every aspect of your life. And so to be able to handhold and have somebody who understands to walk through with you in that journey, that's what we're here to do. Our website, which will come up on the screen shortly, holds a massive range of information sheets and resources that you can use to facilitate your daily cares, making sure that your skin management is on task and really giving you the best opportunities to be able to make the best of having eczema. So we offer a dedicated support line. The phone number will pop up shortly, and that's where you can ring us up and either have a cry, have a natter, ask questions, whatever it is that you need. We're here to support you guys. Having gone through it ourselves, we know, we understand, and we really want to be able to support you through whatever it is that you're going through. So we do expos and events. These are one of the highlights of my job. I absolutely love to connect with people in the community and to go to events that increase our knowledge and understanding around eczema and all that entails. So we attend ones like the Baby Show and the Baby Expo. We do dermatology events, conferences and things like that. So we're always upskilling and making sure that the information that we're giving to you is absolutely top notch as well. So we also provide a magazine, just like Ange said, so she'll dive a little bit more into that a little bit later. Excuse me. But we have a lot of information sheets on our website. We've got over 70 information sheets that you can download once you become a member. We've got care plans, we've got daily trackers, we've got pretty much everything that you can think of to do with eczema, we've got. And if we don't have it, you come to us, ask us a question, we can create the resource, we can find the answers. We're here to support you guys. So in whatever capacity that is, yeah, just reach out to us and let us know. So we also want to say thank you to Bioderma and Natasha for their incredible gift of our 3 prizes today. Absolutely phenomenal. These products are really amazing. Excuse me. Just like the other ladies have said, to be in the draw, you do have to be a member of the EAA or the EANZ. So you just head to our website. That'll be coming up on the slide very shortly. And then also, if you could stay till the end of the webinar, we get to pick your name out a little bit later on in the week. So that's going to be really exciting. Excuse me. If you don't want to become a member at the moment, we do have a special on, just FYI, for $5 for the whole year worth the resources that you get from that. We do have the monthly newsletter like Ange mentioned before. So if you want to just sign up for that, it's going to keep you up to date. It's going to keep you in the loop with what we're doing as well. Yeah, so down the side there, you'll see a lot of what we do. We really want to encourage people to give us a ring, send us an email inquiry. We love communicating with you guys. We love to hear your stories. We love to be able to support you in any way that we can. So let's get the phones ringing. Let's get the emails with those queries coming through. That is what we are here for. And if we can support you in any way that we can, we're going to give it our absolute darndest. So knowledge calms, knowledge is power, and support empowers. And so I just want to say you guys have absolutely got this, and we've absolutely got you, which is one of my favorite sayings at the moment. So I'm going to pass it back to Talia. Make sure I've got no more slides. Yep, that's done. So thank you very much, Talia. And yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing the rest of this.
Thanks so much, Vanessa. It's so amazing to know that there is such great support out there by very caring individuals and from organizations that it's just a wealth of knowledge and support that you guys offer. So really cool. And I think a lot of the times a lot of us don't know where to go or that the support is here. So it's that's why we have these webinars as well, to share that knowledge. But thank you so much. It's so good to know we've got support of someone like yourself there at the end of the phone, or emails for anyone that needs the help. Really cool. So we're going to have a chat with Natasha Halliday now. I'm very excited to have her join us today. Super lovely lady and just a wealth of knowledge. So Natasha brings extensive expertise in skincare and eczema management in particular, and she will cover how the skin works, debunk some common myths, explain moisturizer selection, and help us explore the important connection between eczema and mental health as well. Over to you, Natasha. Thank you.
Perfect. I'm just going to ensure that the technology is all good. So I'll share my screen. And then... Okay, so can I just check, Vanessa, Talia, that you guys can see full screen of the Bioderma slide?
Yes, we got you.
Perfect. Okay, I'd also like to begin today by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land in which we meet, and would like to pay my respects to elders past and present. And a big thank you to the introduction from Talia, as well as Eczema Association, for having me. It's always really great to see patient support and advisory groups from a healthcare professional perspective. And so the work that you guys do and the passion in which you do it is really appreciated. And so before we get started today, a really brief agenda. As you can see on the slide above are some of the things that we're going to be talking about today, with really a focus on the emotional well-being and eczema as well. And so these are things that possibly you have or you haven't thought of that are really going to help you, I hope, with living with eczema, or even when you are looking after someone that has eczema. But as a disclaimer, so although I am a pharmacist and a healthcare professional, the content in today's webinar is for general information purposes only. It's not intended to to be medical advice that is both diagnostic and treatment, please consult your GP, healthcare professional, or qualified medical professional for advice that's really specific to your needs. And most importantly, never ignore or delay seeking medical advice because of something that you've heard on this webinar. And just to touch on the Q&A section, this also may impact how we are able to answer questions, but we'll always ensure that we direct you to the right source of information as well. And so I'll introduce myself as well. As Talia mentioned, I'm a pharmacist with quite a diverse background. I've worked with pharmacist-led pain clinics. I have worked all over Australia in rural and remote community pharmacies. I even took a job at a shoe shop just to take a little bit of a break from the industry. But my passion in dermatological conditions is actually occurred when a rep from another skincare company asked whether I would consider providing education to other healthcare professionals. And so I've done education with webinars, education with dermatologists, and spoken at conferences, mainly around skin health, eczema, and health literacy. And so the LinkedIn circle as well is because I really enjoy networking with people, and I'm really passionate about learning from people both inside and outside of my industry. And it's actually how I got the role at Bioderma, because a recruiter saw some of the posts that I was doing on LinkedIn. This just very quickly is about my own personal vision. I find that it is a privilege as a healthcare professional in order to provide clinical information and ultimately improve the quality of life of patients that we serve. And I guess this just speaks to my work ethic. Every time I'm doing a script, especially when it gets like monotonous and you're just like, there's like 100 scripts in front of me, I always remind myself that each script actually represents a human life, and that is someone's child or someone's mother or father as well. And so I'm not sure how many of you guys have heard from Bioderma or heard of Bioderma, but Bioderma is a French skincare or dermocosmetic company. We were actually founded in 1977 by a French pharmacist and biologist. We actually invented the world's first micellar water and created that technology. People think of it as a makeup remover, but it's actually a skincare cleanser for all skin types. And our foundation and formulation is based on the principle of ecobiology. And so that considers two things, that it considers the skin's biology, and we also think of the skin as not just by itself, but in a system that interacts with other systems in the body. And so let's kick off now the webinar and talk a little bit about the skin and eczema. So I'm not sure how many of you guys are familiar with this image. Maybe you are, maybe you're not, but this actually looks at more of the scientific or microscopic image of the skin. Now, you might notice as you move towards the surface of the skin, so I don't know if you guys can see the cake sprinkles, or what looks like cake sprinkles, that actually is the skin's microbiome. So that's the invisible organisms that are just sitting on top of our dead skin cells that help to protect the skin. You can also see in this image the three major layers of the skin. So as we migrate upwards towards the layer, they become quite flat. They turn into dead skin cells, which will eventually shred. And so I mentioned before that there is a complex relationship that we're still learning even more about, but we know that the skin interacts with the microbiome, it interacts with the nervous system because of the nerves in the skin, and even the immune system plays quite a big role in our overall skin health, because we know that within the layers of the skin, there are actually cells that can activate the immune system. And so the skin is a part of what we call the integumentary system. That is considered to be our skin, nails, hair, glands, and nerves. And so the skin is really the largest organ of our body. It's also the most visible, but it's really the body's first line of defense. And so the structure of the skin at a very broad level can really be likened to a wall. So we all know walls in our house. What is the function of a brick wall? It's to keep invaders out, and it's also to keep us nice and insulated, probably humidity levels as well on the inside. And so it's important that therefore the skin's barrier remains intact, because it really prevents allergens or the bad guys from entering the skin and activating the immune system. So think redness, inflammation, and itch. It also ensures that the skin retains water and moisture. And so there's a fancy term called transepidermal water loss. All that means is that it helps to stop that passive process of water evaporating out of the skin. So think about that dry, cracked skin. So you can see the role that the skin just by itself plays. And so if you have eczema, what can happen is your skin doesn't retain that moisture in very well. So it becomes quite dry and easily irritated. And so this makes your skin more open to irritants and allergens, so substances that cause allergies. And so what can happen is these allergies then trigger the release of chemicals in your skin, making it quite itchy. And so I'm sure you're all quite familiar with that itch scratch cycle that just feels like it's never going to end. And so I think one of the challenging things with eczema is that we actually don't know the cure yet, but we do know that we can really focus on preventing the severity, progression, complications, potentially even infections. And so we know that there is an immune link, there's a genetic link, and we also are quite confident that it has to do with the fact that our skin barrier isn't intact, particularly when it comes to the immune system, because some children present with the atopic march. So that refers to conditions like asthma, hay fever, and even food allergies. There are studies now indicating that when that skin barrier isn't intact, the damage can cause the exposure of allergens. So we have allergens entering the skin, and then it's inappropriately activating the immune system. And so from that, there's thought that perhaps other inflammatory and immune-related conditions can occur. And when it comes to the skin's microbiome, we still don't know whether that's cause or effect, but we definitely know that plays a role in our skin health. And so there's the physical symptoms, which is the pain, irritation. And I mentioned before that the skin is really the largest organ of the body. It's also the most visible. And so we know that the physical symptoms are one aspect of eczema, but living with it can be quite confronting. Sorry, Sorry, I just can't move slides. There we go. So that brings me on to my next factor that I wanted to talk about. And in order for us to completely and holistically support each other, and even for myself as a healthcare professional to support patients, it's really critical that we understand the impact in the quality of day-to-day life of those with eczema. And so I bring these data points up, not to be negative and not to be all doom and gloom, because I really do feel that when there's awareness and when issues are brought to light, we can actually have a plan about how we go about supporting each other and supporting patients in their eczema journey. And I'm going to demonstrate this with a bit of data from the Living with Eczema report. So this was created by AbbVie, which is a global biopharmaceutical company. So they develop cell medicines, and they're a research company in conjunction with EANZ, and they delivered these findings. As a disclaimer, this report is actually available online on their website as well. And so they surveyed more than 600 adults living with or caring for those with eczema in New Zealand. And so the anonymous survey reflects the challenges of living with eczema. But one of the things that I found most interesting was actually that 73% of adults feel that their doctor doesn't understand the impact that eczema has on their life. And so I think this is a real takeaway for me as a healthcare professional, but this is definitely an area that we can improve on. But it also led me to think, I wonder how many patients find that their own other family members or friends don't truly understand the impact on day-to-day life. You'll also notice in the following 3 or 4 slides that I've used the term psychosocial health. Now, this refers to the way an individual's thoughts, emotions, and behavior, and how it has an impact on how they interact with their social environment. For example, with their community or friendships and relationships. Now, this is in comparison to mental health, which focuses on the individual's psychological state. So again, psychosocial health is going to look at how do the symptoms of eczema and living with eczema, what does it do to the social environment, community, work, and interpersonal relationships? And sleep is a vital part to our health and well-being. We know that And this is not just isolated to patients with eczema. We know that sleep affects our daytime functioning, energy levels, mood, and even concentration. So one of the data points was that a loss of sleep is a challenge for 2 in 3 people with eczema. And I think when we think about this metric, we should really also take into consideration, or I suppose highlight, that yes, it's the physical symptoms that could be keeping you awake at night, the reality of the itch, the reality of the pain, but it's also the emotional well-being. So worrying about our appearance, are we going to have a flare-up at work, worrying about a child that we're taking care of, how much is that child going to sleep, because it means that I also won't sleep. And I know for me, at least, when I don't sleep well, I am going to be quite grumpy and unable to function during the day. And so when we talk about sleep challenges, one of the things that I wanted to highlight was there is a difference in terms of the inability to fall asleep, issues with staying asleep, and then ever waking up too early. And of course, a medical professional is going to help you address those sleep concerns depending on what they are, because they are different. But the first question that I actually ask a majority of patients, and I hope this really demonstrates how important sleep is, I ask them, what's their bedtime routine? Do they practice things like sleep hygiene, sleep habits, relaxation techniques? And I think ultimately this data point sums up for me that when you don't sleep well, it's actually really different. It's really difficult to think well. And so I would say definitely seek medical support or professional advice when it comes to your sleep, because it's really going to play almost like a domino effect on all of the other aspects of your health and well-being. The second finding shouldn't come as a surprise. It's one of the physical symptoms of eczema. So 91% of adults living with eczema reported to experience raw and sensitive skin, and 74% experienced pain. And so with eczema, I mentioned before that when the skin is dry, it can crack, it can break. And then we also have to deal with the potential complications of it becoming infected, so secondary bacterial infections. And it's why I'm probably going to sound like a broken record, but it is so important to moisturize your skin twice a day, irrespective of how you feel your eczema is going. Moisturizing twice a day is a really key part that you as the patient can play, because we want to make sure that the skin barrier is intact and that the water is retained in the skin. And then the second point is, if your doctor or dermatologist has prescribed you with a topical steroid, that is going to be the gold standard mainstay treatment in reducing the itch and inflammation. If you recall, eczema is, very broadly speaking, 2 things. It's dry skin, and then it is also red and inflamed skin. So we treat the dry skin with a moisturizer, and we treat the inflammation with a steroid if that's been prescribed to you. One of the other things that they found in this report was, unfortunately, that 16% of those surveyed had experienced hospitalizations due to eczema complications and infections. And so, to the best of our ability, like, there are going to be some times where you will need the biologics, or your dermatologist needs to put you on different types of medications. But where we can, it's really important that we hydrate the skin and take control of the inflammation as soon as possible. And so we therefore know, as I touched on before, that some of these symptoms can have an impact on daily life. A large majority of patients and carers have even said that itchiness alone has had a significant to very significant negative impact. I mentioned before that physical appearance, whether the skin's blistering or peeling or oozing, can also play a role in how we interact socially. But what about when it comes to the things like work and education? We can't, or technically, we can't withdraw from those things. And so I really appreciate this report, because it also highlighted the impact that eczema will have on work and education. When we're looking at work and education, there was actually a quote at the bottom of the report that I encourage all of you to read. And one of the patients has said, if you're flaring and if you're at work, you can't concentrate, even if you try really hard. And so with respect to these types of statistics, we know that more than 30% found that working and attending university had a moderate to significant negative impact. And so I mentioned before that I speak about these things because I want to bring them to light And most importantly, I want people to know that they're not alone and they're not isolated in experiencing this. So this can happen on different lengths of the spectrums for different amount of times during certain periods of times. But really the way to heal is to speak about this and to seek medical and professional support so that your own quality of life can be improved. So lack of self-esteem, stress and sleep, you're not alone if you've experienced these things with eczema, and particularly the stress component, I think is something that we should acknowledge and really be aware of so that we can work on it. And on that note, here are 3 key areas I would like for you to consider. So that is medical professionals, education, and seeking support. And all of these things I hope will help your emotional well-being as you are dealing with eczema. My first point when it comes to medical support. Now, I think with the sheer amount of information that we have available, thanks to social media and the internet, I recognize that it's becoming even more challenging to access evidence-based, non-biased, medically backed options for the management of eczema, things that aren't commercialized. But having said that, based on the research from this report, a large majority of patients actually feel that their doctors don't understand. But as a healthcare professional, I think I can see both sides of the coin. I think that society is really shifting and we are moving away from that traditional, typical hierarchy of healthcare professional or doctor to patient, where it's a one-way stream of communication, where the doctor talks and the patient just listens. Effective communication, as defined by health literacy, really looks at the patient understands and the patient takes action. And so it really goes both ways. And if you know anything about motivational interviewing, or even if you're a parent to teenagers and children, you know that to the best of your ability, collaboration is key. And so I feel that where clinically appropriate, and I can't stress enough, where there is no harm to the patient, healthcare professionals should consider things like cultural beliefs and preferences of formulations. And I think the other thing that perhaps we don't talk enough about is get a second opinion. I guess it's like dating. Find a GP, find a dermatologist, one that you feel really listens and that you're comfortable with. And so together you can therefore make an eczema plan. The second one is on education. So educate yourself on what eczema is and what it isn't. How does it relate to prescribed treatments? And I hope that your medical professional is doing that already. And a little bit later on, I'll also touch on some resources and websites that are great. For me, the goal of this webinar is that, yes, I've demonstrated the challenges of living with eczema and I've brought light to that, but I've also demonstrated why things like moisturizers using twice a day, and if prescribed, topical steroids are a really important option for flare-ups because of what we know about what the skin does and what happens in eczema. And finally, on a personal note though, I do think that with or without eczema, I think that life is just really challenging in general. And so I think seeking support from a registered psychologist, and you'll see on the screen, I put the 2 boards, both in Australia and New Zealand, can help to almost like prune and nip thoughts in the bud that are really unhelpful. I think of it as a way to take preventative action. I think in today's society, we focus a lot on like our fitness, but in my opinion, going to the psychologist is like a gym for the mind. And so sometimes when we linger on particularly harmful thoughts, or we dwell or we take root of those things in our mind, chatting to a medical professional and then getting a referral to a registered psychologist is, in my opinion, a very important and also really underutilized aspect of having a chronic and learned long-term condition. And so they can really help to declutter the mind and provide tools, and then also to support that in your everyday. I'm sure we all have smartphones. There are 2 apps that are really great, which is Smiling Mind and Sleep Ninja. But just again, as a disclaimer, if you are having quite harmful thoughts of self-harm, or you're noticing an abnormal behavior in those that you care for, there are services available like Lifeline and Beyond Blue, but most importantly, contacting your medical professional for those sorts of things. And I mentioned as a part of my 3 key steps to hopefully helping in reducing the mental burden of eczema, I also talked about just the presence of social media and the internet. And so one of the things that I wanted to quickly touch on is actually health and health information that is available. So, a recent poll from the Royal Children's Hospital in Melbourne, the National Child Health Poll, actually surveyed more than 2,000 Australian parents and about 1,500 children. So I thought it was fascinating that more than 63% of teenagers are now turning to social media for health information, and only 16% sought advice from me, healthcare professionals, in the past month. Not surprisingly, skin health was actually noted to be in the top 5 types of health information on social media. And it isn't really surprising because I'm sure we've all seen skinfluencers on Instagram and TikTok. And so the Royal Children's Hospital has called this a crisis for our healthcare system. And I couldn't agree more. Misinformation isn't just misleading, it can also be really harmful and delay appropriate treatments, causing potentially diseases to unnecessarily become complicated and then having infections and those sorts of things. So not only do I believe is technology and the constant influx of social media causing us stress, but I'm not going to get onto that rant for today. The amount of information that we are now consuming, and I guess the ability for anyone at any given time to provide their opinions on almost anything online, can make it really stressful. Am I doing the right thing? Should I be doing more? Why is this cream saying it's a miracle cure for all my eczema? And it can be really hard to cut through the noise. And I actually do find that this is a significant cause of stress, at least with eczema patients, from what I witness. And again, adds on to that mental health and well-being load. And on the screen, there are 4 blue tips that I thought of that might help you, because unfortunately, I can't cancel social media, and also I like social media. So when we're looking at information, when it comes to eczema and when it comes even to other health information, do we understand the difference between an advertisement and pure medical condition? Is the post sponsored? A big red flag is, are they saying this is your one and only solution? Are there big claims like that miracle cure for eczema? What's the source of information? Are there medical professionals providing the information? Are there any conflicts of interest that have been disclosed? For example, I'm a pharmacist, but I also work at Bioderma. However, when I'm in my pharmacist role, I'm always recommending 3 to 4 different brands for the patient, because it's actually unethical for me just to recommend a Bioderma product. And finally, what is the date of last review? How up to date is the information that you are looking at? And so I think it's really important to look at websites that will, if people are still looking at websites, look at websites that are ending in the .gov or .nz. So in Australia, we have Health Direct, and in New Zealand, there is Healthify. This provides information on eczema, sleep hygiene, all of these medical conditions with no commercial interest. And then, of course, the support groups are really important to reducing that mental health load. But as Vanessa mentioned, there's some really good fact sheets that are available in multiple languages as well. And this probably leads to, I'd say, we're getting really close to the end, the last tip that I have. Now, I don't know about you, but sometimes when I myself am in a pharmacy and I'm looking at all these skincare creams, it just looks like the image that's on screen. Everything's a blur. And then you go online and you go on Instagram, and the choice of a moisturizer is just, they've made it really complicated. So I'm going to hopefully debunk some of the just unnecessary flashy words that you'll often see. And this slide, this is probably my favorite slide because I'm a pharmacist and this gets into the chemistry of things. But I mentioned before that moisturizing is a very important factor, as well as avoiding triggers and those sorts of things and following advice from your medical professional. And so let's really get into the basics of moisturizers, given that it plays such a significant role in eczema. And so let's understand, what are the formulation types, and then what are the categories of ingredients, and what do they do to the skin. Now, when you look at the formulation slide section, you'll see it goes lotion, cream, and ointment. And as we go down those dot points, it actually gets increasing in the amount of oil that are in these formulations. Now, lotion, creams, and ointments will differ in composition, texture, absorption rate, and intended use. So the first one is a lotion. So lotions typically contain a higher amount of water than oil. However, the high water content can sometimes mean that there are more preservatives used. So whether that's a trigger for your individual case is something to think about. The great thing about lotions is that they spread really easily and they are quite cooling. However, they're not as effective depending on how dry your skin is, and they're typically not thick enough to repair the skin's barrier, which is something that we really want in eczema. They can be useful though for hairy areas or even weeping eczema, and they have a very fast absorption, which is great if you're like in a rush and on the go. The second one is cream. So creams will typically contain that moderate level of oil to water ratio. They can be quite light as well. They're easily spread and they're generally cosmetically accepted because they aren't greasy. They're also great for the face and they provide quite a moderate level of rate of absorption. The last one is ointment. So this one contains little to no water. It forms a thick, greasy barrier on the skin that helps to retain moisture. However, I'm going to pause there because I think it's really important that we understand the differences between adding moisture to the skin and preventing water loss. Now, we need both in eczema. However, there is a difference between actually hydrating the skin and then preventing water loss. So your ointments, typically speaking, are going to form that thick layer on the skin and they will prevent any water loss. One of the benefits, getting back onto ointments, is that they're water-free, they've got a very low water content, so then potentially a lower amount of preservatives, but they are the slowest absorbing. The best thing, generally speaking, it's great for cool, like dry and thickened areas of the skin, or applied before bed, under wet wraps, and those sorts of things. And then we get on to skincare categories and ingredients. In eczema, we want to attract moisture to the skin. We want to prevent moisture from leaving the skin. And we also want to repair the skin's barrier. So really important that you're looking at ingredients that do all three things. So humectants are going to attract water to the skin, the emollient will repair the skin barrier, and then the occlusive, which is most likely an ointment or an ointment in the formulation, will help to trap all of that water inside the skin. And then finally, in red and bold, in case you can't see that it is probably the biggest point I want to highlight, when you're looking for a moisturizer, so really important to go fragrance-free, if possible, thick as possible, because that is going to give you that really good hydration as well as moisturizing. And then try to avoid products that have food in them. So coconut oils and those sorts of things is a bit of a watch out depending on your individual scenario. Obviously, it should be pH balanced, and so that just means it's not too acidic, so it's not stripping. And then when we're looking at or wash, three things, so soap-free, fragrance-free, and pH balanced. And that takes me to the end of the official part of the webinar. I hope that you found some of the tips in looking for a moisturizer and a formulation, as well as some of the highlights from the Living with Eczema report. I hope that it brought a lot of awareness to you. And I hope that you can even use some of the 3 tips in navigating the challenges of living with eczema. What I want to do as my last slide is actually just introduce you, if you're not already aware, of one of many good moisturizers that are available in your pharmacy. I mentioned before the conflict of interest that I do work for this company, but again, when I'm in a pharmacy, it's always 3 to 4 brands, different formulations, depending on the patient preference. This is just one of, in my opinion, really well tolerated and formulated products that you could use for eczema. And so that is the Atoderm Intensive Balm, and it contains ceramides. So that is, I mentioned before that if you think of the skin like a brick wall, that kind of, the ceramides help to provide the mortar that's between the bricks. So it helps to moisturize the skin's barrier, soften and smooth it. It's also got another ingredient that may help with the itch of eczema. And then finally, it can also assist with the skin's microbiome. There is evidence to suggest that patients with eczema tend to have typically higher counts of certain bad bacteria and those sorts of things. And so this is one solution that can be indicated for dry skin or even eczema-prone skin. And yes, thank you so much for having me, and thank you for listening. I look forward to learning more about some of the questions that most of you guys would have. Thanks, Talia.
Thanks so much, Natasha. That was, so insightful and really great to listen to. Thank you. So we've just got a few minutes left. We've had one or two questions come through on email prior to the session, and then there's a few here. So we'll get through what we can. And as we said, for any questions that we can't answer today, we'll gather the responses and email them out to everyone, make them available to everyone post the webinar. Thank you all for commenting and interacting with us today and being part of it. It's been a really great, insightful session. Caroline was one lady that emailed in a couple of questions before the webinar. I think she was asking about moisturisers containing food. I think we've answered that. Ideally not, is what Natasha was saying, to try and stay away from those where you can. One person was asking, Ying was asking, shall we apply moisturiser first or steroids first?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So topical steroid would be first, then if you can wait at least 10 to 20 minutes, and then you would do the moisturiser as well.
Perfect, thank you. What are wet wraps and how and when do you use them? That's from Josie.
Yeah, perfect. Wet wraps are basically there's love hearts on Talia's screen. Anyway, sorry, got distracted. So wet wraps where you use bandages, so often like the Elastoplast or something like that, you will soak them in lukewarm water and even a bath oil, obviously one that's like fragrance-free, pH balance, those sorts of things. And then you can put on your moisturizer, and then you'll put on the wet wrap. And so the benefit of wet wrapping is that, particularly in a flare up, what it will do is it will enhance the penetration of the moisturizer. So again, we want that rapid skin barrier that is going to be repaired. And again, wet wraps should be obviously under the supervision of a medical professional. But I do think that it is quite a useful tool. I think the challenging thing though is I actually wet wrapped for a friend, to be honest, and it can get a little bit messy, and I wonder how kids will go. But the best way, in my opinion, if your doctor has recommended it, to be grip. I'm not sure if they have that in New Zealand, but basically you just cut it to the sides and you'll put it on. And so again, it's going to cool the skin, and hopefully it's going to increase the penetration of the moisturizer, potentially reduce the itch because the skin is cooled as well, and then repair the skin barrier as well.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you. We will probably have to leave it there. Just looking at the time, a lot of people might need to go now. We just wanted to say again, it was an incredible session today. So informative. Thank you, Natasha, Angelica and Vanessa for joining us today. Hope everyone found it super valuable and with all of the insights. Thank you for sharing your passion and your compassion as well and experience with us. Natasha was, really evident. And thank you everyone for participating and sharing your questions, interacting. We will take all of the questions and come back to you with answers following the webinar. We'll also provide a link to the recording, which we'll make available in the following week or so. And I guess I would say, do you want to say anything, Ange?
Yeah, can I just, sorry, if anyone isn't in a rush and you can stay around for a couple more minutes, please do. I've got just a couple of slides that I'd still like to share. Can you all see my screen?
Yes, we've got
amazing. As Vanessa did earlier on in the piece, I just want to thank all of our Australian corporate partners. We couldn't do what we do without the support of these incredible partners that we have. They are listed on our website. So when you are purchasing products for your skin or for your home, it would be great if you did look out for that trusted brand logo on the packaging. A thumbs up, did you see our logo on the derm? I did. Yeah, so that is something that we really recommend that you do look out for. The Australia and New Zealand logos look very similar, and they do come in gold, silver and bronze. But I do just want to say, with any product that you're new to when you are first trying something, always patch test first. That's really important, because not every product and not every ingredient is going to be for your skin. But generally, if you do see the logos that you can see on the screen on those products, then we think that they are suitable for most people with eczema. So here's some of our gold partners for Australia. Thumbs up, love hearts if any of these are sitting in your bathroom and if you're using any of these. And we've got our beautiful silver partners as well. So lots of brands. You may not recognise some of these, so keep an eye out for those and take a look at their websites, and do reach out if you have any questions about any of them at all. And our bronze partners as well. So again, lots of brands there that I'm sure you recognise, and some that you maybe haven't seen before. So there's always more coming onto the market, which is really exciting for us at both the associations, because we get to showcase all of the options for you. This one here, here's our website. So we have a free monthly newsletter. I know Vanessa touched on that earlier. If you haven't subscribed, please jump on our websites and please do subscribe. It costs nothing, but you get loads of information. So Emma here in the Australian office puts together some pretty amazing content for the community every month. And we'd love for you to subscribe and join the community that receives information each month. The magazine, again, that we were touching on, it's the most incredible magazine. You've got to see it. It's amazing. It comes out quarterly, and again, just a wealth of information. We do a lot of product reviews. There's expert articles in there and some amazing information, recipes. It's just jam-packed with great stuff for you. I'm going to move quickly because I know that I'm running out of time. But yeah, for only $5 a year, starting from $5 a year, you can join the EAA or the EANZ. I did see some comments in the chat earlier. We've already got some people that signed up, and we do have 1, 2 and 5 year options. We have digital and premium memberships for Australia and digital for New Zealand. Lots of amazing inclusions with our memberships. So again, I'm just going to skip through these. This will be recorded and it will be sent out to everybody afterwards, so we can go through that with you if you have any questions. Here's our codes. Again, you don't need to write them down because they will be coming out to you afterwards. So the code to join Australia for $5 is here for the Australian website. And if you wanted to look at joining the New Zealand membership, again, we've got 1 year for only $5, and that code is there for you as well. So we won't be drawing the prizes live in the webinar now. What we wanted to do is give more of you a chance to win. We've had so many stay online until the end. One of the requirements for going in the draw to win the prizes is that we need you to be a member of either Australia or New Zealand, and we wanted to give you a bit more time so that you're not rushing to do that. So we've got that prize, the prizes being drawn in a couple of days. Yeah, so everyone that's still here with me now, you can go in the draw to win one of those 3 prize packs that Natasha has generously put up if you are also a member. So you've got plenty of time. Yeah, so what's next? You'll get the email and that will come out with the recording. It'll have the discount codes to join us. There'll be discount codes and offers from some of our corporate partners. And we're going to go through any questions and answers that weren't answered. Natasha will put together some answers for us, and we will be sharing that with you today. So I just wanted to say on behalf of myself, thank you so much for taking some time out of your busy day. It's been amazing connecting with you all. Natasha, thank you so much for sharing. We could have listened for another couple of hours. I know that you only just touched on some of that information. So thank you on behalf of myself and Vanessa and from all the team. There's so many behind the scenes here that if you give us a call or send us an email, you can meet some of the other team members behind the scenes. We've got in corporate and accounts and so many beautiful people helping to bring all of the information and resources to everyone in the community. So thank you so much. I'm going to stop sharing.
That's okay. Yeah, thanks to Jacqueline for sharing the link for the membership as well. Some people are asking about how they can join that nice and quickly. So thank you. Yeah, thank you, ladies. And are you happy for me to wrap up?
Perfect. Thank you so much, everyone. See ya.
Yeah. Thanks, Natasha. Have a great day. Thank you, everyone, for
Bye.
joining us, being here from New Zealand, Australia, all around. Take care of yourselves, and we look forward to seeing you in our next webinar.
Thank you.